The most constant thing in life is change. And if you're not willing to change with the times, with the trends, with the technology, with the resources, then you tend to basically opt yourself out.
And if you don't adapt, you're not growing and moving and you're not relevant and you won't be able to serve those families that come to you. The change is determined by the consumer, and so the profession adapts.
We always hear about the first responders. If you say a first responder, people immediately know who falls into that category. Your EMTs, your police officers, and your firefighters. But very rarely do you hear people talk about the last responders. The last responder is basically the funeral directors, the people who come and do the body removals, and the cemetery workers, the people that are there to care for the dead. Good morning, and today I'm joined by a fabulous guest and one of our newest board members to the National Museum of Funeral History, the Executive Director of ICCFA, Nadira Baddeliyanage.
Yes. Good morning, Genevieve. I'm happy to be here today with you.
Good morning. I'm so happy that you're able to carve out some time and join us today because from my understanding, you have a lot going on. You have a big convention coming up.
Yes, and also before that, we have Dead Talks, which, I will be flying to Vegas next Sunday. So, the year has begun and we are looking forward to a really good start with Dead Talks. We have close to 390 attendees registered so far. So super excited to be in Vegas and kick the year off learning.
Oh, good. Well, we're going to dial down on some of this stuff and dissect it so that some of our listeners can really understand what our industry is about because, our industry is quite vast. You think that we kind of live in a vacuum being funeral directors, morticians, and that we're a vacuum of a profession that there's not a whole lot of us. But I don't think people realize that there's a huge amount of support that goes into our industry. And then within that support element are different associations that help link us all together. And so ICCFA is one of those resources for us in our profession. Can you tell us more? What does ICCFA stand for? How long have you guys been around? And how do you guys bring value to our profession?
So the ICCFA is the International Cemetery, Cremation, and Funeral Association, and they were founded in 1887 as the American Cemetery Association, so like 138 years. And, we have evolved, and so we, as the profession changes, we have added funeral homes to our membership as well as cremation to keep relevant. And you'll be surprised, everybody is surprised to note that we have more funeral home members today than we do cemeteries.
Interesting.
It is. And the difference of ICCFA, I like to say that we are a large umbrella that supports and serves the entire profession. So cemeteries, funeral homes, monument dealers, suppliers to the profession. So we are that place that you come to learn, network, and gather for the entire profession. And that's how we are a little different.
So you said you guys started out just as cemeteries, an association for the cemeteries only. Do you by chance know any information on what it looked like back in 1887?
Oh my goodness. I know that they were incorporated in the state of Michigan. I've been with the association 27 years, but compared to the 100 and, plus years, that's kind of baby steps, right? So we have some very old, beautiful photographs that we found when we were moving officers. And, they got together, they talked about education, they had events, and they took dressing up for these events to a whole nother level. I'm always fascinated, Genevieve, to see the ladies, the hats, different times of when these events happened. And I think that it started off a bunch of cemeterians getting together just to talk about common issues they were facing at the time. I want to say 6 or 7, but it's so far beyond my time, and we don't really have all that, information of the conception. We have the incorporation, the paperwork, and all that stuff. But I want to say it was like 6 or 7 cemeterians got together and said, hey, we want to serve the profession well, and these are the issues we are dealing with current day, and let's get together and form a group. I believe that's the inception.
And I think that still holds true to the value of the association, an opportunity for us to not feel like we're on an island, because even though when we're in our day to day work, sometimes we can feel that way, right? Just because of the line of work that we do. But this gives us an opportunity to actually come together and, like you said, talk about some of the problems we're experiencing within our own individual organizations, be it a funeral home, be it a cemetery, a crematory, mausoleum, or even a museum, right? Some of the things that we face, some of the issues that we're dealing with. But then I think it also gives us an opportunity to see where our profession is going, what the consumers are wanting, coming together, cross collaborating on getting some commonality so we can better serve the public. Is that correct?
It is correct, definitely. I can say this also, the core value of ICCFA has not changed. It's just how we serve. So our goal or our vision is to help our members better serve families that come to them and their communities. And if everybody asks me what your vision and purpose, in a nutshell, that's it. And that's not going to change. But how we provide, the tools to help our members to do that changes over time, because you have to keep relevant. Everything changes, right? I mean, nothing
They always,
stands still.
that's right. They say the most constant change in life, the
Is
most constant thing in life is change.
it
And if
is
you're not willing to change with the times, with the trends, with the technology, with the resources, then you tend to, basically opt yourself out.
right, and you're not going to keep growing and learning. And if you don't do that, I mean, there's no purpose, right? We all learn
Yes.
and grow in our own environments, and we want to contribute to the profession, to society. At the end of the day, we want to leave this world a little better than we found it. That
Very
and
true.
yes.
Yeah. And so interesting enough, the concept then, would you say that the majority of the changes come within the industry itself, or does it come from the consumers that the industry is supporting?
I think it's two folds here. The consumers want something different. And so the profession needs to adapt to serving the consumer, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so it initiates or it starts with the need. And as the generations, I mean, we are in like a technology, AI influence generation.
Very
And
true.
even the death care profession, we have to adapt, because that's going to be those families that are going to come to you making those plans for mom and dad in the future. And if you don't adapt, I mean, then you're not growing and moving, and you're not relevant, and you won't be able to, serve those families that come to you. So the change is kind of determined by the consumer, and so the profession adapts. And of course, as a profession, we want to do everything we can, right? We want to be on top of how we serve families. We want to be relevant, and we want to keep, evolving.
And I think that's important. And because of everything you just said, that is why it is so important as a profession in our industry, as a supplier to those who serve in the industry. It's very important for us to be plugged into these associations. Is that correct?
It is. It is. This is where, and if I in my travels, in my conversations with members, prospective members, I'm asked, why is it important and to belong? And I think it's the networking is so important. The connections you make. Let's face it, at the end of the day, we want to do business with people we like, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to cultivate those relationships, and ICCFA gives a great platform for those networking opportunities. And we have, we can get into this later. We have, three great, um, propositions, values that we bring to the profession. And one of it, I always say, it's network, network, network. Come to these events. Don't wait till someone reaches out to you. Make those connections. I know it's sometimes, if you are a first time attendee, I've felt this too, it's very intimidating, right? You walk into a room, all the groups are together, and you feel like, my gosh, I don't know anybody. But as you grow and learn, they're wonderful people. People ask me why I stayed for 27 years, and it's the people I serve, our leadership, our members. They are just. This is more than a job for me, but I think networking is so important, and all associations provide it. Because I'm biased, I feel we really give them the opportunity to do it in a very friendly, environment, and so it's of great value to the profession.
I have to tell you about my first experience. I was not a generational funeral director. I
Okay.
came into the profession as out of my own personal interest.
Well,
And it was later in my life after I finished my time in the service with the United States Army. I decided to make a career change, and I went into being a funeral director. And I remember, so many times not really being able to talk to my peers while I was in the Army in a way that was of value to me, because they didn't understand my passion. And my passion was working with the dead and the dying. And
right.
that just didn't exist in that environment. And so I finally did meet a wonderful mortician while I was in the Army. She became my mentor, and it kind of paved my little way, if you will, to Commonwealth Institute of Funeral Services, which I then got out of the military and became a funeral director. And still, I'm in my day to day life, and I'm real like excited and passionate about what I'm doing. And people just are like, I might as well have talked to a wall, because when I tell them what I'm doing, they're just like, you get that frown, you get that weird
Right.
contorted look, and they're like, they just can't relate. And I just remember going to one of my first industry conventions, and I apologize, I don't remember which one it was. And I, like you said, very overwhelmed, because there's a lot of people there. And I just remember after the day had ended, we all went and met up at this bar. And I was sitting there at the bar, and I started talking to some people around me, not realizing they were funeral directors. And we all of a sudden started talking. And I just remember the profound impact that that moment had, that it still stays with me today. That I said, oh my gosh, I'm talking with like minded people, and I'm talking with people that understand me and understand my passion. And it was it was just liberating, and at the same time, comforting, inspiring. And there were so many emotions that happened in that moment. And so I can truly say that if you're new to the profession, you're just coming in, the associations are the best place to go and,
Yes.
and help keep that fire ignited, because nobody's going to feel that passion more than your fellow funeral director or fellow people that are within the association to help support us as in our profession.
I agree 100%. And these are some of the nicest people I have
Oh,
met.
yes.
And talking about ICCFA members, they are so open and ready to help. We have another format. Every July, we have what we call the ICCFA University. It's one of a kind in the profession. It's held at Emory University every July. And it's the people that work really in, either in land and, ground maintenance or sales and marketing. There are 8 or 9 colleges every year, and you pick one, and you have to come back and attend 4 to graduate. So, uh, and that networking there is so different to our other networking. And those relationships and friendships that you make, they become your lifeline. Because if you need anything, if you are experiencing some, issue at your workplace or a product, or these are the people you call. And I'm so, um, you know, I'm overwhelmed by the generosity of their time to help. And that's just something I have really noticed.
And also, I
So,
think,
yeah.
I'm sorry, say that part again.
So they're always open to share best practices. There's no secrets. They embrace you, and you perhaps you just met them. This is your first year. You exchange cards, you call when something comes up, and they're so ready to help you. And that I've found amazing in this profession.
Some of the things that people, maybe our listeners, don't realize, that a funeral director is somewhat a servant to the community. And in that service to the community, they may not realize that funeral directors are 24/7, right? They're on call 24/7. Death has no hours. And they're there through all, through the good weather, through the bad weather, through the pandemics, when everyone else is told to stay at home, they still have to go to work. And so I think there sometimes can create a sense of burnout within the profession itself for the individual funeral directors who are, constantly at the grindstone, if you will, and working tirelessly, effortlessly to always take care of its community around. And so would you say that also the association helps some of the industry members that are finding themselves having some burnout from time to time because of the grind that, or the demand that their community places upon them?
Yes, and there is more and more of that, especially post-pandemic, right? We can agree, because the volume was just so much. I mean, personally, I was, talking. We as an association had to learn to work remotely, adjust to that. But we were all on cause, just helping these people. So we gear education towards it. We give, the platform of that you feel safe to come and have those conversations. We have many, many committees, and our Women in Leadership Committee particularly talks a lot about, your health and taking care, self-care. That is there. So yes, there is a place for everybody in our profession at the ICCFA. And like you said, we are here to serve. I truly believe I'm here to serve our members. That's my goal.
Yeah, and if I can talk a little bit about the pandemic, that for today's funeral directors, the pandemic created a whole new set of rules of engagement with the deceased, the rules of engagement in planning a funeral. How important was your association in helping these funeral directors get the education or information they needed at almost like a moment's notice, as everything was shifting so quickly?
It was. And so the then sitting president was Jay Dodds, who's actually being honored this year with the Lasting Impact Award at our convention. So well deserving.
Yes,
And
I have to agree.
yes, he is. He's just, he's a legend of our times. And I feel very honored to have worked with him and to be able to call him a friend today. He's like that, one of those people that I have surrounding me that's a phone call away. And so he put together a committee that worked on helping with, even things like getting masks and distributing them, or dealing with whatever came up at that time. And I have to say that the major associations were very together jointly with, KENA and NFDA and ICCFA. We did our best to work together to come up with what was needed. Like, one example I remember is that there were locations that couldn't keep up with the volume, right, of serving families. And you had to find extra refrigeration outside because you couldn't, just the volume was just so overwhelming. Actually, it broke my heart. I mean, it's one of those things that you're like, my gosh, we can't even do our jobs. And so so Jay was instrumental in bringing a group of people together, like a task force who handled all these different questions in different states. And, I think that was very helpful.
So I know as an association, you're nationwide, correct?
We are international as well.
You're international as well.
We
That's right.
are.
That's the international portion. So
That's right.
in speaking to that, there are different rules and regulations to every country as well as to every state within our nation, correct?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a lot for you guys to keep up with. But during the pandemic, did you guys still have to adhere for the different rules and regulations that were mandated by state here in the nation and or the world? Or was there some type of kind of, I want to say like, okay, a truce at this moment, the rules and regulations have to kind of be put aside so that we can get the job done and help out our funeral directors in taking care of the volume that now has been presented? Or did you still have to maintain rules and regulations within?
I don't recall. I mean, the issues we dealt with was like in the vaccinations, getting the, last responders so that they can go out there and help. And I know our lobbyists that came out, helped with certain states. I honestly can't recall if there were, if we were concerned about serving the different states with the regulations they had at the time. But overall, we just wanted to help everybody. Now,
Of
with the
course.
international members, they had their own challenges, and we were more a place for them to voice their concerns or to listen, because honestly, we don't have legislature that, we are not currently involved with every country's legislature. We know keeping up within the U.S. is a full-time job and a situation.
So you mentioned two things I want to bring up if I can. One thing that you said in this last conversation we just had that really stuck out to me, last responders. We
Yes.
always hear about the first responders.
Yes, right.
And on the and so if you say a first responder, people immediately know who falls into that category, right?
Right.
Your
Right.
EMTs, your police officers, and your firefighters, right?
Firefighters, right.
But very rarely do you hear people talk about the last responders. Can you expand on that a little?
I think they are as important, and I'm not even sure we should call them the last responders. However, I know during this time of the pandemic, there was a lot of focus on them. I mean, much appreciated. As you said, there is no time or day. They couldn't keep up with volumes. And I know that ICCFA's Educational Foundation and that arm under Jim Price, we had, we put together a video, and I want to believe the other associations also, were part of that. We wanted to honor all those folks that served. So
Yes.
they are as important as the first responders. It's just that's how the reference is, but by no means are they last.
Correct. Well, I
Right?
think that they're meaning that the last responder, meaning that they're the person that comes at
the last. Yes,
they come at the end of our
Right.
life rather
Right.
than at the beginning of the crises
Right.
that life is experiencing. That's the first responder, and the last responder comes when they have passed away, and they're
Right.
there to show them the dignity and respect that they deserve, regardless of the cause of death, and ensure that they're taken care of from the moment they're called all the way till their final disposition. So that truly is what the last responder is. Basically, the funeral directors, the people who come and do the body removals, and the cemetery workers, right? Are those
Right.
the ones what we would consider the last responders?
Responders.
Yes, the people that are there to care for the dead. Another interesting point that you had brought up is, let's dive a little bit on the work that you guys do with legislation.
So that is our number one benefit. It is to be the go-to association when it comes to legal and legislative. And we have we have a committee, a legal and legislative committee. We have a general counsel, Paul Lamasters, And we also, in the recent years, worked with a lobbyist firm called Dykema, which also a service corporation works with them as well. And so it's kind of really nice how we support each other in all the efforts. And what they all jointly do is keep in front all the issues that we face on a federal level. And we do a Capitol Hill visit. So all the legislature that comes down the pipe, we want to, in a timely manner, let our members know what's happening. And even with the FTC, and all that, we are on top of that. And that is why we ask that funeral, the firms support ICCFA, because that's what we do, that we wanted to be the go-to association when it comes to legal and legislature, and that is the number one benefit in belonging to ICCFA.
And so for people who aren't familiar too much with the legislation, they basically help govern the rules that mandate how the funeral director does their job, basically, correct? It's the rules and regulations that we must follow in caring for the dead based on the rules and regulations established for our individual states and our nation. Is that correct?
That is correct. And not just funeral homes. It's also, there are rules and regulations for cemeteries, and some that apply to our suppliers too. So it is all of that. We would like to get more involved in the state level and bring, help those states as well. Most of the work here in DC is on the federal level that our lobbyist does for us. So it's meeting. So once a year we do a Capitol Hill visit, which is like 2.5 days. And, we invite our members to join us. And then if we see how that membership is represented from the different states, and then our lobbyist goes ahead and makes appointments with, Senate and House representatives so that we can actually visit. So our Capitol Hill visits are more personalized, a little more intimate. We actually split into groups and go and talk to these people. We represent X number, like over 10,800 rooftop members. And these are our issues. It's just it's so fascinating to me. I've come to look forward to that. And so this year it's coming up April 1st through the 3rd.
So can you give me an example of an issue that you might take to the Capitol Hill?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Cemetery trusts. That is one issue. There, and the fees related to that. I didn't prepare to bring you all of it, but I believe we have over 24 or 5 issues that we are working on currently.
So basically, you come across something in the everyday practice that you feel is not working right? Because we can have rules and regulations all day long, and on paper they look great, right? But in practice, sometimes they just don't work. So if I'm interpreting this correctly, it would be like a rule came down that I have to abide by, or a mandate came down on how I need to do my job, and it's just not fitting once you put it into practice. And I give my feedback to say, maybe we need to adjust this because it isn't working right. Can we go back to the rule maker or the mandate and make some adjustments? Is that a good example of the work that you guys do?
So not necessarily can you always influence something to change that quickly in government, but you give the facts, right? And say this is why, or this is not, it shouldn't be applicable to, this profession. When it's like a, large rule that covers, like the hidden fees, that's a big issue, right? So mainly that was put into place so that the consumer is protected from hidden fees, like in the hospitality industry, or buying, going to these concerts. You know how when you go and purchase something online, and when you're about to check out, that is completely not the fee that you thought you were going, or the price that you were going to pay.
Correct.
Right? So does that apply particularly to our industry? Like, is there hidden? So you have to reveal all fees. That's what the rule is. But and so we are saying, does it apply to our profession? When do we have to break down? So you publish a fee, but then there is additional fees, like to for example, some services happen at a later point than when you are settling on your fee. So is that a hidden fee? I mean, and
Oh,
those are
yeah.
the, those are the things that,
For an example, I go in and I do a pre-need, right? So
all right.
I've done a pre-need. I got the price of what my funeral is going to cost, to include opening, closing grave, my burial, my casket, or my cremation fee. Well, maybe not the cremation fee.
No, but that opening and closing fee,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes it may not be what it actually, or you may not know what that fee is, because you
Exactly.
keep prepaying and purchasing, number of years before. So
Mm-hmm.
how can you disclose something that you don't even know, right? That's
Exactly. So that's a really valid point. That, I mean, it happened to my uncle. Uh, when my aunt passed away, they had already prepaid for everything. And then he called me up and he said, "Oh, I didn't realize that the actual fee for the cremation wasn't in there."
right.
And he said, "So what are these fees now?" So that example being is, now all of a sudden I'm paying more when I thought everything was paid for. So you're right. Is that considered a hidden fee? But it can't be if you don't know what that price is going to be, because I'm sure when they did the pre-planning, cremation was a very, very minimal fee back then. And
Well,
then, as you know, as we move forward in time, we all know that prices increase, the cost of the gas, the propane, whatever it takes to run the crematory increases. So of course, all of the fees are going to naturally increase right along with the economical demands.
of course.
So yeah, so I think that I get what you're saying, and I can see that how some people can say, "Oh, you hid that from me, didn't tell me," but how can you hide something you don't know?
Right. And then this profession is, already governed by the funeral rule, right? So why do we need to be having additional? Uh,
Correct.
and so that's another question too.
So it's wonderful that we have somebody that's really going to bat for us, per se, on the Capitol Hill, and helping out the profession. So those are things that we don't have to worry about, and we can stay focused on our families.
That's right. And that happens for the entire profession. Even if you are an ICCFA member or not, we're doing it on behalf of the profession. I
That's
always
very.
say that too. So,
And so let's talk a little bit about your the upcoming convention. And ahead of that, you were talking about the dead talks.
yes.
Can you elaborate on the dead talks? What are they? Because I know I'm very curious to know.
So Dead Talks is our sales conference that happens at the start of the year, and it's taking place, starting next week in Las Vegas, and it's actually modeled after TED Talks. So it's very fast moving, and you have our stages set where you get a number of speakers talking on, all pre-need, how to get leads. HR, all these topics, but it's so fast paced that it's like 20 minutes or 25-minute time slots. It's very exciting. It's a 2.5-day program. It's always well attended. It's a reward for most folks from, their sales the previous year. And there's no better venue than Vegas for that, because when you win something, and it's one of those there's nothing like it again in our profession. Very fast paced, based on best practices. You can leave there and take something and implement it the next day.
Very good. So you're winning knowledge when you go there, right?
It is, and you're
It's a
setting
jackpot regardless, right?
regardless,
There's
and
no losing.
no, and you're setting the pace for the entire year, because we start off with that very high energy. And we have a wonderful team, a committee that works with our team here, that puts it on together with really visionaries of our profession. And that committee is chaired by Mike Herons with Matthews this at the moment. And they are all just, in there to make that work and roll up their sleeves, and they help out, and they just they actually put that entire program together. So
Oh,
that's
fascinating. Now, does Dead Talks take place just once a year?
once a year, usually in the month of January or February.
Very good. And now, so let's switch over to ICCFA
Okay.
itself, which we know is it's what 4 days of a lot of
So,
seminars.
so the ICCFA convention is rebranded, and it is the new ICCFA experience, and it's happening this year, April 30th through May 3rd at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. And it's going to be so different. It is the visionary, and it started off with Lee Longino, who's our current president, wanting to disrupt how we always do business. And he has an equal partner as his VP of Education, John Bolton, and a whole committee that looked back and thought about, we all conventions you attend it's the same format. So we make mixing up things. It's going to be in one location in the expo hall. So we have 3 different stages. It has a celebration, a kind of festival feel to it. We're learning, but we're going to learn in a more exciting environment. And the exhibits will be open. We provide free food and beverage to everybody who attends. So we'll have hubs where you can meet experts on different topics and discuss those. And so there is something for everybody. So we are super excited. High energy, different format. The president's banquet and reception is at the front. We're not ending with it. And it's a little shorter in time. So really want to see how this is going to work out for us. And there's a lot of good people who have worked very hard throughout the year to make this happen. So
So,
I'm really excited.
yeah, I'm excited too now just listening to the new format.
Yes.
So I have a question. So, I'm an exhibitor usually 9 times out of 10 at the conventions. The museum
Right.
comes as an exhibitor. And I always tell myself, I never really get a chance to go and go to all of the different sessions because I have to, exhibit, right?
Right.
So do you feel that at any time now that the exhibit hall and the stages are in the same location, is there going to be an opportunity perhaps for the exhibitors to be able to learn a little something while they're there?
Of course, it's you don't have to go very far. I mean, there'll be certain times that exhibitors will have just time dedicated for them to conduct business and meet up. But there will be times where they can still be at their booth and all this is happening. So yes, and I hope you will, because um, I really am very impressed with the keynote we have. He's Clint Palmer. He talks about how to create an organization where nobody wants to leave. How you retain your employees. And, in this profession, that's one of our, biggest issues we have. How do you keep good people and help them to grow with your organization? So he's happening at the main stage, and it's high energy. There's a lot of drumming going on, and so won't reveal too much. But I am very excited about just to see. You plan all this for like a whole year, and then you want to see how it just falls out, right? So
Yes. Oh, so I'm so excited and now even more excited knowing that it's not going to be the same platform again and again
right,
because the conventions like you said they do tend to run a specific format and you fall into that complacency of knowing what to expect, and now that I'm learning that I don't know what to expect, that there's something new on the horizon, I am truly excited to go to ICCFA, and I hope that people that are listening that want to get a taste of this newness registers and are able to attend as well. So very exciting for that. Nadira, this has been so eye-opening for me, and I'm in the profession. and exposed to people within the profession. And I have learned so much from you today. And I am so grateful that I've had this opportunity to sit down with you and really get to know ICCFA on a deeper level. And that's all because of your hard work at the helm and making sure that ICCFA continues to not only be a resource for the profession, but continue to grow in the opportunities that our profession has through you. And I'm so grateful for that. And you said something very poignant at the beginning of our show. You said that you always strive to make sure that we leave the world a better place. And I can truly say, after talking to you, Nadira, that is definitely what you are doing.
Thank you so much. And before we end, I do have to give a huge shout out to those folks that have mentored me, who have gone on this path with me, as well as my team. I have a wonderful team here at the headquarters, because without them, I couldn't do what I do every day. So I appreciate you having me, and I'm enjoying getting to know you as well, and the museum, and hope I can serve in the years to come and make a difference.
Well, the difference you're making with ICCFA, I can already tell you're going to help make a huge difference at the National Museum of Funeral History. And I'm so honored and grateful to have you part of the team. And I'm looking forward to what we can do for the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.